core strengthening today because core is super important for tennis. So we're going to start it with a warm-up. So this first warm-up, yay, yeah, I saw that in celebration. So we're going to start with, you're going to be on your back with your knees bent, and you want your knees to be together, and we're going to start by warming up a muscle called the quadratus lumborum. It's a muscle that's really important for side bending and rotation in tennis. So by stretching this muscle first, we're going to help prevent injuries. So what you'll do for this motion is just going to bring your knees over to one side and then over the other side, and you want your shoulders to stay flat on the floor. You don't want to be raising up your shoulders off the floor. So this is really easy stretch to get started. I'm going to start the timer for 1 minute, and you guys can watch the countdown as you do this with me. We're just going to go from one side to the other side. Make sure you're doing deep breathing and nice and slow. I don't want to have you guys going really fast. You want to be going nice and slow. Feeling a gentle pull with no pain. If you feel any sharp pains in your back, that means that you're moving your knees over too far. So make sure you stay in that pain-free range. So you don't have to go all the way to the floor, just as far as you're comfortable going. Really important we don't skip this part before the core exercises. Injury prevention is the top priority. That's why we're doing all these exercises, so you guys have strong cores, strong shoulders, so you can get out there and just be confident that you're not going to injure yourselves on the court. Got another about 5 seconds here. All right. So now we're going to get right into the core exercises. So this first one, you're going to either keep your knees directly over your hips and your knees at 90 degrees, or you can straighten your legs like this. And then, of course, it's harder the lower you lower your legs. But as you're doing this, the tendency can be to arch your back. So you want to make sure you keep your back completely flush with the floor, so not arching at all. But if that's too hard, of course, you can just bend your knees and bring your knees over your hips. But be careful not to bring your knees in too close or you lose the core activation. So we're going to get started for 1 minute with this one. So either holding this position or straighten your legs or as low as you can make it without arching your back. So just find wherever you feel comfortable. And we're going to hold this for a minute, so pace yourself. But if you need to take a break, that's okay. We'll try to go for the full minute. And as you're doing this, make sure you're breathing and also make sure you're keeping your abdominal muscles in. You don't want to be puffing out your abdominal muscles because we're trying to strengthen a muscle in the deep core called the transverse abdominis. And if you allow your abdominal muscles to dome up, then you lose that transverse abdominis contraction and you start engaging more of your rectus abdominis. And you'll know you're engaging it if your transverse abdominis if you're able to breathe. If you start being unable to breathe, that means that you're probably overactivating your rectus abdominis instead. The transverse abdominis is like a weight belt that you would use in weight training, so very protective for the back. All right, good job, guys. That was a minute. So next one I have on the list is single leg lower with your legs straight. So you're going to start with your legs up like this, and then lower one leg at a time like this. And you want to keep your legs as straight as possible. If you don't have the flexibility, it's okay to bend your knees, but just try to keep your legs as straight as you can, like this. So you always want either one or no feet on the ground. You don't want to start down here because then you lose that core activation. And then the modification for that is to bend your knees and just tap one down at a time. So we're going to go for a minute for this one. And go ahead. And again, if you guys have any questions, you can type in the chat or you can ask me out loud as well. Good job, guys. And again, you want to make sure that your back stays completely flush with the floor. You don't want to be arching your back at all. And also by doing this exercise, you're lengthening the hamstrings. And tight hamstrings are a contributor to lower back pain. So by stretching out your hamstrings, you're protecting your lower back as well. Now this isn't easy. You should feel it in your lower abdominal muscles. And also you might feel it in your hip flexors as well, and that's completely fine. job. So next one I have on the list is Spiderman planks. So you're going to be in a plank position, so you want your hips and your shoulders on the same level, and then you bring one knee out to the side and try to touch your elbow, and then the other side and try to touch your elbow. And if that's too hard, you can just do either a sliding motion or you can just raise a little bit out to the side. So I'm going to get started for 1 minute with that one as well. Here we go. And as you're doing this, you want to make sure you're able to breathe the whole time, and also that you're not dropping your hips down, because that's not very good for the back. So this one is strengthening the obliques and the sides of your abdomen. Other important muscles for tennis. Everything we do in life comes from our core, so that's why I decided that for today's session we'd focus on core. And if you guys feel any pain, especially lower back pain, then you can always drop to your knees and do this as well. It's another modification. Because feeling back pain likely means that your abdominal muscles are not strong enough to do this motion. You should be feeling this motion only in your abdomen, not your back. Alright, all done with those Spiderman planks. So next one I have on the list is plank to downward dog. So we're going to be doing about 3-second holds in the plank position, and then you're going to push up through your shoulders, and then try to drive your heels in towards the floor like that, and get your head between your arms. But no worries if you don't have the calf flexibility to get your heels to the floor. Just do your best. And back. Forth, and we're going to be doing this for 3 seconds each. And if you want more of a forearm flexor stretch, you can turn your pinkies around this way to do this exercise. But it's up to you. If you feel like it's too much of a stretch to have your pinkies turned around, then you have your hands facing forward. So we're going to go for 1 minute, alternating between those two positions, the plank and the downward dog. Try it both ways if you want, fingers facing forward or turning your pinkies around. Getting that forearm stretch. And then again, you want to make sure you're not dropping your hips down. So right now we're training both flexibility as well as core strength. And also you're stretching out your hamstrings again, which is really important for preventing lower back pain in daily life as well as in tennis. Okay, great job guys. So next one on the list is hook line heel tap. So that's a fancy physical therapy term for penguin taps. So hook line heel taps, you're going to lift up your head so that your chin is tucked in towards your chest. And you also want to lift up your chest so that your shoulders are off the ground. You want your arms straight and your knees and your feet hip distance apart. And you're going to have your hands facing each other like blades. And then you're just going to touch the outside of each ankle with your hands like this. And then if that's too easy, you can flip your hands the other way and tap on the inside of your ankles. That's going to be more of a challenge. And if that's too hard, then you can drop your head and just kind of try to reach as far as you're able to, but try to do the full motion if you're able to, and as long as you're not feeling any lower back pain. All right, here we go for 1 minute. And again, as you're doing this exercise, make sure you're breathing. If you're having to hold your breath, that means that this exercise is probably too hard, and then you just drop your chest down and just do what you're able to, and you don't have to reach as far. You should be feeling this all in your upper and lower abdominal muscles. And also, as you're doing this exercise, make sure that you're keeping your abdominal muscles tucked in. You don't want to be puffing out your abdominal muscles, because we're trying to strengthen that natural weight belt. That's why you want to keep your abdominal muscles tucked in as you're doing this. We're about 10 minutes into this exercise routine, so you guys should be feeling the burn at this point in your abdomen. Almost done. All right. So next one on my list is V-sit with double leg extension. So for this one, I'll show you the easier version first. So the easiest version, you would have your hands behind you. You want to sit up straight with your back straight, and then you just slide out your legs out and back in, or you can slide one at a time like this. So that's the easiest version. The next level up would be to lift up your legs and straighten your legs like this with your hands on the floor. And then the hardest version, you have your arms up straight, and then you're extending your legs and straightening them. And you want to keep your back as straight as possible. Try not to be hunching like this, so keeping your back as straight as possible. And we're going to go for 1 minute. And again, make sure you're breathing. It's really important to have oxygen coming to those muscles. That's why breathing is so important. And also that ensures that you're engaging the transverse abdominis and not overusing your rectus abdominis abdominal muscles. That's why you have to make sure you're breathing. And also keeping your abdominal muscles tight and in, not poofing out your abdominal muscles. Good job, guys. And this is tough. So after this exercise routine, it's good to feel sore in your abdominal muscles for up to 3 days. But you don't want to feel sore for more than 3 days. If you do, that means that you probably pushed yourself too hard for today's session. So as we continue doing these live classes, you'll be able to gauge when it would be good time to take a break or to regress the exercise into an easier motion. All right, so next one is a V-sit twist. So the easiest version of this one is to have your feet on the ground, hands together. You want to keep your back flat, so not hunching, and then touching both sides with your hands. So that'd be the easiest version. If you want to make it harder, you can grab a dumbbell, touch the side, and then hardest would be legs straight, doing this motion with the dumbbell. All right, we're going to get started for 1 minute. Again, make sure you're not feeling any lower back pain. If you're feeling lower back pain, then you can drop your feet to the floor. You should feel this all in your abdominal muscles. And keep breathing, keep those abdominal muscles in and tight. Great job, guys. There's so much of the world's population suffers from lower back pain. So these exercises, as long as you do them correctly and feel only your abdomen and not in your back, are really protective against lower back pain. And lower back pain would make it hard to do tennis as well. So by doing these exercises, you're ensuring that you can play tennis for a very long time. All right. So next one is mountain climbers. I'm sure you guys have seen these ones before. So you're going to be, you can either be on your hands and knees and then bring one knee in at a time towards your chest. That would be the easier version. Or you can come up into a full plank, bringing your knee one in at a time, and then touching your feet to the floor so that you never have one foot off the floor. Or the hardest version would be to kind of run in place so that you don't have, so that you either have no feet on the floor or one foot on the floor at any one time. So pick which level you would like to do, and we're going to go for 1 minute. And again, make sure you're keeping your hips at shoulder level. You don't want to be dropping your hips down like this. That way you maintain that abdominal contraction. And Make sure you're breathing. And I'm starting to sweat, and that's a good thing. Sweating's healthy. Hopefully you guys are feeling like you're starting to sweat as well. This is a cardio exercise as well as a core exercise. Good job, guys. This isn't easy. Again, you don't want to feel it in your back, only in your abs. Keep breathing. Job. All right. All done with that one. Whew. Okay. So next one is either called unsupported lower trunk rotations, or the more common term is oblique Tick-Tocks. So for these, you can either have your knees directly over your hips, so not bringing your knees in towards your chest, so it should be over your hips, keeping your shoulders on the floor, and then touching your knees to the ground one at a time. And if that's too easy, you could straighten your legs and do the same. Well, I got the wall right here, but bring your legs all the way to the ground and back up. And then the hardest version will be keeping your arms in. And let's see if I can get up there. There we go. That one's pretty hard. So, keep going for 1 minute. And if it hurts to bring your legs all the way to the floor, then don't go as far. None of these should be painful. You should feel achiness here, but no sharp pain in your back. And make sure you're breathing, keeping your abdominal muscles tight. Good job, guys. You can take a break if you need to, or go back to the easier version, like this. Try to challenge you guys' abdominal muscles as much as you can. I've only got you for a little over 10 minutes, so let's make this session count. All right. Great job, guys. So next one is side plank with clamshell at the top. So you're on your side. This one also strengthens your shoulder muscles as well. So easiest version is so you want to keep your lower legs on the floor and lift up your hips, and then bring your top knee apart with your feet together. Then bring your top knee back together and lower your hips. And repeat. So that's the easier version. If you want harder, you can straighten your legs, lift up, raise up your top leg, lower your top leg, and lower your hips, like that. So whatever version you'd like to try. So we'll go for a minute. So again, here's the easier version. It's 4 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or a harder version. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And make sure when you're coming down that you're going down slowly, so you don't want to be slamming down, because that's a lot of compressive load on your back. To go down too fast. Slow lowering is called eccentric contraction of the muscles. It's when you're going against gravity and the muscles are lengthening. Good job, guys. Go back to the easier version if you want. You want to make sure that your hips stay stacked, so you're not bringing your hips too far forward, too far back. They should be right on top of each other. Great job. All right. So I'm going to go to the other side. Got 10 minutes left of the session. I'm going to get started again with that same exercise, just the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the harder version. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the easier version again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this also strengthens the lateral stabilizers of your hips, so the gluteus medius. Since 90% of tennis is lateral motion, it's really important to get these muscles here strong on the sides of your hips. 2, 3, 4. All right. So next one is good old bicycles. This one, like mountain climbers, is a pretty common one, and the reason it's so common and so well known is because it's a really good one. So you start with your knees directly over your hips, and then you straighten one leg at a time like this. So that would be more of a slower version, but usually these are done a little faster, like you're biking. So this would be the easier version where you're lying down. It's easier if you have your legs going more up towards the ceiling and harder if you have them going towards the floor. But you'll know it's too hard for you if your back starts arching like that. You want to keep your back completely flush with the floor as you do these. So this is the harder version, closer to the floor. Or you can sit up and have your back straight and then arms up and then bicycle this way. So that would be the more advanced version. Okay, so pick whatever version you would like, and we're going to go for 1 minute. And make sure you're not feeling any lower back pain. Make sure you're not hunching too. Keeping your back flat. Make sure you're breathing. And it's pretty common to start to have a snapping sensation in your hip. It's common, but it's not normal. That just means that your iliopsoas tendon is going over your bone in the front of your hip. And that just indicates muscle weakness in the hip flexors. So if that happens, you don't have to straighten your legs fully. You can just do little motions or regress the exercise to one of the easier ones I showed you earlier. And that's something that I commonly hear about people saying they have that snapping sensation in the front of their hip for this exercise. 10 seconds left. Good job, guys. All right. So we're going to start cooling down here. So we're going to be doing double knee to chest. So for this one, you're just hugging your knees towards your chest. Make sure you relax your head towards the floor. You don't want to be keeping your head up like this. That puts unnecessary strain on your neck. So just relax your head towards the floor. We're going to hold this for 30 seconds. Hopefully you guys are sweating and feel your heart race and you're breathing hard. That means you've strengthened your cardiovascular system today in addition to your abdominal muscles and the sides of your hips. It's recommended to get 30 minutes of cardio 5 times a week. So if you keep your heart rate elevated with exercise 30 minutes 5 times a week, then that's ideal. All right, so next one is child's pose. So for this one, you can either keep your knees together and then reach forward and you're seated on your feet like that. That would stretch more your back. Or if you feel like that's not enough of a stretch, you can keep your feet together, open your knees and reach forward. That's gonna stretch more your hips. Okay, so then we'll hold this for 30 seconds. If you have any knee pain or you've had any knee injuries, then you can do it a little bit differently. You can have your hips up and then just drop your chest down like that. Or if you feel like you can't even tolerate that, then you could just go back to the double knee to chest. So you guys know your medical history, your unique medical histories, so just whatever you feel comfortable doing. You shouldn't feel any pain in your knees for this. Okay, and then if that one was okay for your knees, then you're gonna reach to one side. So we just reached forward, so now you're reaching to one side, and then you hold it for another 30 seconds. So the full range would be if you have your hips completely on your feet, like that. Just hold holding that position. And by doing this, we're stretching the obliques as well as the muscles right here and your back. Okay, and then we'll do the other side. Whatever knee you're just over, you'll go to the other side. And if you're doing this version where you have your knees together, it would look like this. Making sure that your hips stay directly on your feet when you're doing this. Really feeling a stretch in your latissimus dorsi and your back as well as your obliques. Alright. So the next stretch I have on the list is the hamstring stretch. So you're on your back, and then you have both your legs straight, and you're grabbing onto one leg and pulling towards yourself. And if you don't have that flexibility, you can grab either a towel or a band. And if you grab a band, if you have options, it's best to use the heaviest band. Just putting it around the bottom of your feet and pulling like that. So it's up to you how you want to do that stretch. We'll go for 30 seconds. You guys should feel your heart rate slowing, your breathing rate decreasing. Again, stretching these muscles is really protective for the back because tight hamstrings connect to the ischial tuberosity in your hip. And so if those hamstrings are tight, okay, the switch, if those hamstrings are tight, then you're not going to have your pelvis in the correct position. So having relaxed hamstrings keeps your pelvic alignment in the ideal position. Alright, we're going to finish up with one more stretch. This one's called the Piriformis stretch. There's a few ways to do it. So one way, you cross your foot over your other knee, and then you pull diagonally across your chest so that you feel a stretch in your hip here. Another way you can do it is grab in front of your shin like that, so kind of a pretzel shape. So whichever version you feel like you have a gentle pull with no pain, then do that. If this one is painful or too tight, then you can regress to having your foot on the floor and just pulling your knee diagonally across your body like this. Go for 30 seconds with this one. So the reason we're doing stretches is because when you do any exercise and you feel sore, then that means there's little micro tears happening in your muscles. And if you don't stretch after exercising, then those micro tears can heal and you will become stronger, but you might have some adhesions or some fascia sticking, which is the connective tissue around muscles that can then switch sides. And so stretching makes sure that when you get those micro tears that the muscle elongates back to its original position without healing in a disorderly fashion. That's why we feel sore, is because of those little muscle tears that happen after exercise. But that's how we get stronger, so that's really important. You have to rebuild. If you want to get something strong, you have to rebuild it. It's just important to stretch so that it rebuilds in a good alignment, so that muscle fibers lie flat instead of being all bunched up. All right, and we're all done for today. You guys did amazing. Do you have any questions you want to write in the chat, or any questions you want to ask me out loud, or you guys could just sign out now if you want. All right, well, thank you so much for joining today's session. Oh yeah, of course, you're welcome. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, or whatever time zone you're in. Maybe it's time for bed, but regardless, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or great night. We'll hopefully see you next week. All right, bye-bye.